This is Cineback for the FX3 and FX30. It transforms your camera into a compact cinema body with just a few screws, adds a mini V-mount battery plate, 4 D-tap power jacks for accessories, a single power switch for the entire rig, a custom-made screen slot to protect the display when tucked away, giant top and bottom mounting plates for any rigging setup from small to large, and in this video I'm going to show you how you too can get one of these things in your hands, how it works, and we'll take a look at a couple crazy camera builds with it. But first, a quick disclaimer. I created and sell this product, so I'm not going to be reviewing it as I'm a little biased. That said, this video is not sponsored by anyone, but it is supported by those of you who have purchased my camera guides, LUTs, and camera gear like Cineback. Check the links in the description to learn more, and thank you guys so much for the support. So let's take a closer look at this thing, then we'll take a look at what comes in the box, how to put it together, what it costs, what are the modules, what's the future of this product, and all of that fun stuff. If you pull the trigger on Cineback, in the box, you're going to find a bag with everything inside. That bag has a QR code with instructions on how to put everything together. You'll also find a little baggie with all of the hardware required, a fully assembled Cineback kit, and a Camera Foundry sticker. There are only 2 things you need to get Cineback installed: the small rig 4183 FX3 and FX30 cage, and a D-tap to FZ100 dummy battery. And I have both of those items in the description. Installation is very simple. Take your camera with a small rig cage, then add the included 1/4-20 to 3/8 adapter here on this 3/8 thread. Once that is mounted and flush with the bottom of the cage, we can now flip open this camera screen and slide the entire camera between the 2 Cineback cheese plates. Do keep in mind there is a small spring-loaded NATO safety pin on the small rig cage, so you'll need to press that pin down when installing it, and if it pops back up inside of one of the threads, simply use the included Allen key to press it back down. Once you've aligned these 2 threads on the cage with the 2 slots on the Cineback, add 2 of the included 1/4-20 screws, but don't tighten them fully down just yet. Next, we can flip Cineback over and add 1 more 1/4-20 at the bottom here, going into that 1/4-20 to 3/8 thread we installed earlier. Once everything looks aligned, go ahead and snug up all of the screws, and we can now close the camera screen into the Cineback screen slot. Next, we can connect our battery cable from the D-tap jack on Cineback to the camera's battery slot. To do this, flip Cineback over, slide the small rig battery compartment guard out of the way, then open the battery compartment door. There's a spring-loaded little plastic lever that you can press on the battery door to remove it from the FX3 or FX30. Now we can insert our battery, run the cable through the cable slot on the cage, plug the D-tap into Cineback if you haven't already, and tuck the cables neatly underneath the vanity plate. Now we can simply add a battery to the back of the camera rig, flip on the switch, turn on the camera, and we are good to go. To remove the camera from Cineback, you simply disconnect the battery cable, remove the 2 screws on the top and the single screw on the bottom, and you're back to just your camera body. Next, let's talk about the different models and expandability. So at launch, there will be 1 model available, the V-mount version in black. Down the road, I'm looking at adding more battery plate options. So if you like gold mount, we're looking at adding a gold mount option. So there'll be other models available. We're also looking at doing a no mount model. So if you have, for example, a V-mount plate that you just love, it has all the connections you need, you just love everything about it, you could buy the Cineback with no mount, and it'll simply have a D-tap cable coming out of the back or somewhere on the device, and you'll be able to plug it into your own V-mount plate and run that kind of setup. So we're trying to make it as flexible as possible. This thing will also be expandable. So we're looking at building a power expansion module. It'll be a user upgradable accessory where you can put it in between the V-mount and the Cineback and add more options. So maybe multiple USB-Cs with power delivery, barrel connections, LEMO connections, more D-taps, just more options when it comes to power. I'm also looking at coming out with a version that has HDMI to SDI, 6G or 12G, so that you could, convert the camera's HDMI signal to multiple SDI outputs with all kinds of expandability there. So it's not a locked down system. We're hoping to develop multiple different accessories that you can purchase later and add as needed. Next, we have pricing and availability. At launch, we are going to start with a batch of 50 Cinebacks for the FX3 and FX30. Those are available right now in the description for $279 at launch. So once those 50 units, that first batch, is purchased and pre-ordered, we're going to start shipping those next week. and then it'll take us maybe to the end of November to fulfill all 50, but we're hoping and thinking we're gonna be able to do it much faster than that. From there, we're gonna have a second batch, which is also available for pre-order right now. So if the first 50 units are already taken, you've got another 100 in batch number 2. We're hoping to have that shipped by the end of December. So December 31st by then, having another 100 of these out. And that we're thinking of having a slightly more expensive price tag, so try to get in on the first 50 if you're interested. But again, I'm shooting for under $300 or around 300 bucks. From there, we're gonna see how the whole process goes, and my goal is to continue to bring the price down and see how we're able to keep things in stock. And then we're not gonna just stop at the FX3. This was by far the most requested camera for Cineback, but we have a lot of cameras in the works. I'm already designing, actually right here on my desk, different parts for the Sony a7 IV and a7S3, as well as the ZV-E1 and the a6700. And then we're not gonna stop at Sony either. I'm hoping to do Canon, R5C, R6, R5, Fuji, just as many as we possibly can. So needless to say, we're not gonna just stop at this camera, but when it comes to the FX3 and FX30, we're looking at batch 1 and 2. They're available for pre-order right now, and just stay tuned on the channel. By the way, if you also want email updates, you can go to camerafoundry.com, and at the bottom of the page, you can enter your email and you'll be notified of all the changes and everything coming up. Now let's get to a couple rig setups. So we're gonna start with a very simple rig, and then we're gonna show you an insane setup using this to show how strong the Cineback is and how versatile it is and how expandable it is. So here I have the FX3 in Cineback, super basic setup. It's just a boxy cinema camera, no top handle, no base plate or anything like that. This is super nice, super easy, nice to pack away. But a setup that I love is to grab one of these Nitsy top handles, the NATO mount variant, and slap it on the top. This gives us a really nice top handle for the camera. For power, I love these small rig 50-watt batteries. They're enough juice to power the camera for quite a long time, as well as another accessory or two. Speaking of accessories, I threw on this PT5 Mark II, which is a phenomenal lightweight 5-inch monitor, and I used a simple friction monitor mount to attach that to our top handle. The camera and the monitor can both be powered from the V-mount plate, and we can use a single switch on the back to turn everything on and off. So that's one simple, super clean little setup. Everything's powered off of one battery, and with one NATO handle removal, we get everything stripped down to just the camera. Next up, we have a beast of a rig that has a ton of accessories, again, all mounted and all powered by Cineback. On this beast, the camera is mounted to a 15mm rod base plate and the Kessler XL quick stand. I've bumped the battery from 50 watts up to 150 watts on the back, and on top I've added the small rig 1979 top handle, but unfortunately has been discontinued. A close alternative would be the bright tangerine D style top handle. On top of the handle, I'm using the Nitsy monitor mount to hold the awesome Portkeys BM72DS, which is an outstanding monitor with tons of features. It's a 7-inch monitor, so slightly larger. It's fully metal, has so much connectivity, including SDI and HDMI in and out, and the brightness is ridiculous on this thing. Along with the monitor, I have also mounted a Portkeys Li SDI EVF just off to the side. It also has inputs and outputs, so we can daisy chain our signal. For the lensing system, I added a PL mount adapter, a Nisi Athena lens, and the new Nano 2 follow focus system from Tilta. On top of all that, I threw on the C5 matte box, also from Nisi, and for the final cherry on top, the CineParts camera voltmeter. This gives us a nice giant voltage reading of our battery, so we can monitor power for everything on the rig super easily. Everything is powered off of the Cinemac D-Tap splitter on the side, and to power up the Nano 2 system, I used a D-Tap 2 D-Tap and USB Type A adapter to get power over to those USB-C devices. So as you can see, Cineback allows you to go from something super small and boxy like this to a slightly more functional camera system with a top handle and monitor, all the way up to an absolute beast of a camera. All right, so now I want to talk about power briefly and the electronics. So very simply, whatever is connected to the back battery plate of this device is going to go to those 4 D-Tap connectors on the other side when you flip the switch. It's that simple. So you need to make sure that you use the correct cable for the thing you want to power. So this cable from Condor Blue will take the 16 volts or whatever your V-mount has and convert it down to the proper voltage for your camera. Most camera D-tap connectors are going to do this for you. But if you have a monitor, read the voltage on that monitor. There should be a label somewhere near the power jack on your monitor or other devices saying, hey, this takes 12 volts, or hey, this takes 5 to 17 volts. So figure out what you need and then get the appropriate cable. Some cables are regulated where it's going to regulate the voltage to 12 volts. So it's going to take that 16, go down to 12, or 16 down to USB-C 5 volts. Those are all things you need to figure out depending on what device you're going to be powering. But I wanted to go with D-tap because it's so versatile and there's a billion accessories and cables out there. So I know you can power pretty much anything you want off of this, and you have 4 jacks. You could expand it to 8 jacks using another splitter if you wanted to. Another huge feature to Cineback is the power switch and how it completely kills any power from being drained from the battery when the switch is off. A lot of battery plates have various circuitry in them so that you can adapt and change voltages. Those circuits will draw power even when the switch is off a lot of the time. So if you've ever put your camera rig in a bag, even though it's off, and pulled it out later and realized the battery is much lower, that's because it's still chewing up juice even when it's off. That's not the case with Cineback. When Cineback is off, there is 0 voltage leaving the battery terminal. So you can safely put it all away and keep it off. And when you pull it back out, any battery drainage is just gonna be because it's cold or something like that, not because something's been sitting there slowly eating away at your battery life. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all of the input on this product. You can learn more about it in the description below. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video.